As he comes around to complete the 13th lap, Allison slingshots around Baker, around Cuckoo Marlin, and Bobby Allison is in front at the end of 13. But at the end of 10 laps, here's how the front 10 were running. First place car was Allison. Second place was Marlin. Third place was the Dodge of Buddy Baker. Then running fourth was David Pearson. Fifth was Cale Yarborough. In the sixth position, Ray Mostott. Seventh on the field, Richard Brooks. Eighth was Donnie Allison. Ninth was Bobby Isaac. And running 10th was the car number 42 that's being driven today by Marty Robbins. And Robbins stays right there in 10th position, holding on beautifully in the early going. 13 laps now complete. They're coming around to complete lap number 14. We go to Barney Hall. As the field moves down out of turn number 4, there's going to be another change of positions.
Here's a problem over on number 2. Looks like Larry Smith from here hit the wall on that outside retaining wall, and he's coasting to a stop as he drifts down toward the safety apron. From here, it appears to be Larry Smith hit the wall on the outside. We'll have to wait and see how severe the damage is, but from here, it appears he would be out of the race.
For sure, he is out of the race. He kissed the wall on the outside of turn number 1. Running at about 180 miles per hour. He has driven the car down to the inside of turn number 2 off the side of this 33-degree banking, 5-story high banking here at Alabama International Motor Speedway. He has parked the car, brought it to a halt. He is not out of the machine as yet. The safety crews were there waiting on him. They kind of saw where he was going to come down, and they made their way there. And by the time he had brought the car down and put the binders on to bring it to a total halt, the safety crew was waiting on Larry Smith in the Carling Black Label car. Larry Smith, former Rookie of the Year, in fact, 1 year ago Rookie of the Year, has stopped the automobile. Safety crews are now around it, and we should see some people on pit road here, Marvin. Although it's early, they'll be taking the advantage here of getting some gasoline and possibly checking the tires over. Edna Gree coming by, and here's Roy Main, who's now driving car number 25. Jabe Thomas turned the first lap, and then Roy Main of Sumter, South Carolina, took over. The last lap average speed was at 187.9 miles per hour, and we were showing Cuckoo Marlin, that great driver who's had so many great wins over the year. In fact, he had the record for wins at the Nashville Fairgrounds until this year. His automobile
looks like the whole field.
Oh, my goodness, It looks like the Oklahoma Land Rush up on the top of pit road. They came in 6 deep trying to find their positions. Everybody's in there. We go for a report to Tom York.
Well, action in the pits has been at a minimum up to now, but everything is exploding. We had more spectators along the wall here. The pit crews have exploded into action right now, and it's routine stuff. Changing outside rubber for some of them. Benny Parsons, the number 72 at 73 Chevrolet, has a cracked windshield. This may prove significant later on and keep Benny from finishing up among the leaders. But right now, it's routine pit stops and in and out within a matter of a few seconds. Now back to Ken Squire.
We're waiting for a further report on the Larry Smith car. John Green is now the boss wrench on that car, formerly with Joe Frisson. He's made the switch over 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they had high hopes for today's race, but they have come to naught here in the early going. Everybody dove onto the pit road at once, and the scoreboard is going to look like it was hit by a shotgun as far as positions are concerned now.
You're not going to believe this. I can't see from here what the Woods brothers did, but they were one of the last cars to come out of that bunch out of the pits, and that's real rare. So they must have done all their work at one time.
Ken Squire in the garage. One of the cars did retire under that caution. Paul Tyler, car number 53, told us he had ignition problems, and he's retired the car, is changing clothes, and going to watch the rest of the race. Back to radio control.
Paul Tyler out of competition. That is the first official retiree from the event. The big story thus far has been the charge by Buddy Baker from 21st position, moved into second. He has been fighting with the leaders all the way, and he had to move quickly on this track to catch those leaders because that 9 or 10 car draft might have pulled away and left him far in the back, but he was able to move off the cars, and as he says, it's a great deal of fun here at Talladega at 187 miles an hour to scoot by automobiles, but it gets a little hairy at times. The pace car bringing the field by, and we'll wait for a moment to bring you a lineup. James Hilton is directly behind the pace car. Then comes David Sisko's automobile, Dean Dalton, Bill Champion's number 10, Charlie Roberts' number 77, J.D. McDuffie's number 70 coming by, Walter Ballard, and then Darrell Waltrip. These cars in behind, but the heavy machinery on pit road at the present time. The 17th, 18th lap is now being, 19th lap is being worked. The 15th lap was led by Marty Robbins. The 16th lap was led by James Hilton as a continuation of this wholesale change of positions forced by the yellow flag being brought out for the first time today. Caution was on the speedway for the crash of Larry Smith of Lenore, North Carolina, his car crashing in turn number 1, and the report is that he may have been injured in that crash. Safety crews there, that is the preliminary report. We'll have more for you on that shortly. Okay, those are some of the things that have gone on some of the short tracks, and we're trying to get this race back underway. Larry Smith, some of the crowd wants to see him go. However, they're not going to let them go until the check has been made and completely checked in turn 2. The problem being, one lap and they will be racing. The problem being this glass situation in turn 2 from the wrecked car of Larry Smith. A report now from Jim Fife in turn 2.
Larry Smith really smacked that wall, and he kissed that wall all the way around into turn 2. His car drifted down into the safety apron. We were quite concerned because Larry remained in that car for a good while after the safety crews reached him. He was taken on a track ambulance, carried out of the car on a stretcher, taken by ambulance to the track hospital, and now we're awaiting further word. But he really hit the wall, and his car was really heavily damaged.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great sadness and regret that we must announce at this time the Alabama International Speedway has had its first fatality. Larry Smith of Lenore, North Carolina, was killed today in the first turn crash in the early going of this event. His car hitting the first turn wall on the outside. Just didn't seem to be that hard a crash. We've seen so many cars crash many times harder, but something broke. His car then coasted down and stopped on the inside of the track. The safety crew was immediately there, and no one gave it a thought but that he would walk away from that crash. But he was dead on arrival at the hospital, and everyone here, I can tell you, is just awfully concerned. He was a fine competitor, Grand National Rookie of the Year last year, a very personable guy who spoke so well for this sport and loved it so dearly. Larry Smith, killed in the first turn today. He was, I believe, 26 years old. A very, very fine young race driver with a tremendous potential, and unfortunately that will never be reached. John Green, his master mechanic, has just taken over with that racing crew from Spartanburg, South Carolina, the Carling car, and they had such high hopes for the remainder of the year. Marvin, that's a very hard moment.
It sure is. It's one of those things that doesn't very often happen in racing. It's just one of those things that happen. But like you say, the accident did not look bad at all, Ken. No one even gave it second thoughts. I mean, it just a normal bounce off the wall. So
looked like he grazed it, and it looked like he grazed the wall and had come in, and that was not the case. Apparently, of course, at 180 miles an hour, a lot of damage, and we have lost Larry Smith here in this race today.